Assalamualaikum and good day to Madam Shamila and also to my fellow friends. So, today I will present to you under the topic of public participation in decision making. But before we start, I would like to introduce myself first. So, my name is Muhammad Amirul Zarif bin Muhammad Zamri, matrix number 267666. So, have you heard before this about public participation in decision making? If not, I will tell you what is public participation in decision making. So, public participation in decision making can be defined as general term for diverse formal processes by which public concerns, needs, and values are incorporated in governmental decision. It also can be defined as a process, not a single event. It consists of a series of activities and action by a sponsor agency. It also can be defined as any process that directly engage the public in decision making and give full consideration to public input in making that decision. So, I have chosen one cases that related with this topic, which is discrimination towards races, apartheid in South Africa. So, have you heard about apartheid in South Africa before this? If not, I will tell you what is apartheid. So, apartheid can be defined as African apartness policy that governs relation between South Africa's white minority and non-white majority and section racial segregation and political and also economic discrimination against non-white. Although racial segregation had long been in practice there, the apartheid name was first used about 1948 to describe the racial segregation policies embraced by the white minority government. Apartheid dictated where South Africans, on the basis of their race, could live and work, the type of education they could receive, and whether they could vote. Even in the early 1990s marked the end of legislated apartheid, but the social and economic effect remained deeply entrenched. So, when did apartheid start? The racial segregation had long existed in white minority governed South Africa, but the practice was extended under the government led by the National Party, which is in 1948 until 1994, and the party named its racial segregation policies as apartheid. The Population Registration Act of 1950 classified South African as Bantu, which means black Africans, colored for those of mixed race or white, and ASEAN means Indian and Pakistani category was later added. Other Apartheid Act dictated were South Africans on the basis of their racial classification could live and work, the type of education they could receive, whether they could vote, who they could associate with, and which segregated public facilities they could use. So, how did apartheid end? So, under the administration of the South African President F.W. de Klerk, legislation supporting apartheid was repealed in the early of 1990s, and a new constitution, one that enfranchised black and other racial group, was adopted in 1993. All-race national election held in 1994 as a result in a black majority government led by prominent anti-apartheid activists, that is Nelson Mandela of the African National Congress Party. Although this development marked the end of legislated apartheid, but the social and economic effect of apartheid remained deeply entrenched in South African society. So, as a conclusion, for racism has to be multi-faced, all-inclusive and open-minded efforts promulgated by all walks of life. The first step in this evolution is breaking the cycle of hate being instills in our youth. None of us are born with hate in our heart. Breaking the cycle and changing the way we have also done things is a paradigm shift which will have to be embraced by everyone. The next important part of concluding racism has to be a realization by the historical default population. While we may feel strongly against racism and despise what it represents, none of us truly grasps what it feels like to be treated as less than because of the color of our skin. In other words, to conclude racism, majority people need to recognize just how strong to be in majority privilege is and how it has negatively impact on minorities for so long. I won't go into the weeds with the statistic of jails, populations, unemployment, underemployment, or arrest profile of majority versus minorities, but I think anyone who is honest with themselves know the statistics are not representative of equality or equitable treatment of minorities. I could probably fill several screens with all of the way we need to change to mitigate racism. But before we can successfully put racism behind us, we must stop looking the other way when we see or hear it. The racism can be stopped when we teach our youth to embrace difference and recognize the strength in unity. It also can happen when we stop turning a blind eye to mistreatment of others based on their skin color. It also can be done when we talk to one another about how to embrace the differences. It also can be done when we hear, listen, and understand the needs of one another as human beings, regardless of any labels. Obviously, this is not something which happened overnight, but anything worth having is worth working hard to achieve. It's about time we all work a little harder to bridge the gap. That's all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.